have found that in order to get full coverage on YouTube, you have to have copyright-free music, because I'm all about getting that bag. You cannot get monetized if you have anything that resembles possible copyright infringement. Therefore, I had to change my intro. Hey y'all, this is 2022, a new year, a new time for podcasting. And I had to get a funky beat to basically express what I want to put out in the atmosphere. And this is TNFro. I'm back again. I'm a social critic, thought leader, but I'm more reclusive and cranky. But I want to read, watch, cook, and just share all things that make me happy. My wish is that this increases the curiosity of the listening audience to come back for more and to share with friends. I want 1 million unique listeners and downloads. I want Creative Quality Millie to be known around the world. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. So if you're listening to me on YouTube, click subscribe. Tip a sister. And I just want to thank you guys for listening. And enjoy and get your bop on. Copyright free. The listeners can appreciate how much I enjoy creating my podcast, because anytime you challenge me to come up with other solutions and you try to limit the distribution of my product, we're gonna have some issues. And I've recently had this issue with YouTube not allowing the monetization of my podcast because they don't recognize usage or limited usage of copyrighted material. They basically says that if you have any riffs on anything, even though you're singing to it, if you don't got a copyright to it, they're not going to let it be monetized. But people that are trying to create a product and get sponsors and likes, etc., when you limit the distribution based on this arbitrary law, it can be detrimental to podcasters like myself. So I have a lot of fun. Now I'm having a lot of fun trying to find copyright-free music. I had to change my whole introduction as well as my conclusion based on, because the fact that I had I didn't get permission, or I was using as a backdrop instrumentals to copyrighted music. And I have discovered great copyright-free trap music. What I used as this introduction to already part of podcast that I already love. I love talking about Black excellence and using copyright-free Mailer's Resurrection Roomba by Joaquin Horsley in them that got 71 views and 1.4K likes is right up there with it. What a great way of this instrumental to introduce this part of the podcast of Black excellence. I love a great beat, and I love music, moving in my chair to something that music makes me feel good. And so I'm going to try to dance to it, even though I look like a jackass. But anyways, this Black Excellent, I'm giving mad shout outs to Kismikia Corbett, PhD. Dr. Corbett led the NIH's teams as they developed Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. And I recently did see coming in the news, somebody's coming out for their cash. It's so funny. It's even worse with when you actually have you win the lottery. People come out with their hands up. And in this case, there is Alenium Pharmaceuticals announced today that it's suing and seeking compensation from both Pfizer and Moderna for using its biodegradable lipids in their mRNA vaccines. I don't know. I'm hopeful that they find, because we know that scientists, in particular doctors, are not good business people, that they may not have submitted a copyright. And we just talked about copyright-free music. They may not have submitted a copyright and they may not be entitled to any of that because they may not have thought that they had to. But if their technology was in the public domain, they don't get any access to any of that scratch. Or if they can prove that the people that developed these vaccines would have been able to, they know how to use the biodegradable lipids because they're scientists and chemists and biochemists, that they know how to develop them. They don't have the proprietary link or hook on that particular component of the vaccine. They're looking at potential billions if they could prove it, but I don't think they can prove it. I'm hoping they can't prove it because it's like a black eye, because I would hope that they would have all gotten the approval to be able to use those lipids if they have the right, if they have the copyright to the, what is it called? When you actually have the copyright or the what I was alluding to previously was meaningful use of small riffs of copyrighted data. You don't have to get in trouble for using that meaningful use of that data, but evidently YouTube doesn't recognize meaningful usage. And it's the same instance if the usage of biodegradable lipids, especially if it's in the public domain and they just created their own formulation of biodegradable lipids, you're not gonna get, and you didn't patent it, and you don't have the patent for it, you ain't getting no scratch. It's all legal. And I wonder if this pharmaceutical company, who are these people? They are seek fair compensation for use of his technology, but no less than a reasonable royalty. If successful, they could dip into the richest revenue streams of the biotechs have ever seen. I don't think if they don't have the patent on it, they need to go and sit down somewhere. And I got a couple of other things I'm going to fuss about as far as when I get to the COVID shenanigans portion of the podcast. But with all of those things said, I give her big up because they talked about her, so wonderfully in the Washington Post article at the beginning of the year on Dr. Corbett. She is a current assistant professor at Harvard University, Chan School of Public Health. And I was looking up, I was absolutely looking up for great pictures of her, and she's so pretty, and she's dark skinned, and I've heard her speaking with Melinda French Gates, how excited she is about her contribution to medicine and the fight for against COVID. And she just her father never told her parents, unlike most African American women of a certain age, she was never told that she couldn't do it. They just said, girl, do it. And if you don't do it, cool, find something else that you like to do. We got you either way. I'm happy. I'm happy that she got that support when others of us didn't, but she is like the beacon to African American beauty, as well as to just being a smart all around person. And I give her big ups and celebrate her just because she is Black and she's beautiful. And go sit down somewhere if you don't agree. Also, I'm also celebrating the life of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. It looks like in spite of the Mitch McConnell and the Carlson Tuckers of the world that are alluding to that they're trying to have some quota and what are her test scores, which I know that she is overqualified. Way overqualified for the seat that she is seeking, because that's just how we have to do. We have to have the test scores. We have to be an all-around Black person, and nobody is allowed, and we're not allowed to cry. We just have, and we can have to still be nice and self-deprecating, even though we know we're the baddest bitch in the room. That's the harsh reality. You cannot tell me that this Harvard graduated, Harvard law reviewed, Supreme Court justice nominee, Superior Court, federal court, badass prosecutor is not overqualified for the job that she is about to undertake. Again, you get the side eye and you just need to sit down somewhere, you racist, mouth breathing, insurrectionist, because there's no reason for you to basically say, if she is going to be the standard for a quota, none of us would make it, because she is so qualified and she's just so much smarter than anybody that I know. Also, I have been following the war in Ukraine, and I think I'm more angry with that, because the idea of anybody telling us or telling somebody else that we're going to take over your country just because we want to is so foul to me. And I hope Putin and his allies suffer more so, and they get written at a rail out of their places of government, because this type of shenanigans and bullying has no place in modern society. And China, on the other hand, they basically say, well, we don't think democracy is going to survive into the next century. Yeah, I don't think democracy in its purest form is going to be able to survive, but we also know your form of communism is not going to be able to survive. And y'all ain't slick, because we know you probably already supplied them with MREs and guns, but we also know that your product ain't shit, and it's going to jam up versus. And you on the hook because you are so dependent on manufacturing. If basically people told, it's all over the world, basically say, we don't want your shit anymore and we gonna ban this, and we see whatever your denomination is plummet, you gonna have some real problems. So I'm hopeful that you are going to weigh the benefits outside of whatever your political leanings are, and you basically go and basically say, we don't like these shenanigans, and the war is wrong, and we gonna have to lose Putin's number. I'm hopeful y'all got the balls to say that. But I am giving also celebrating excellence of women, because this is Women's History Month, of the women in Ukraine that are hold toe in the line. Victoria Kramarenko, a medic with the Ukrainian military. She's helped fleeing people Older woman, looks like somebody's grandmama, holding babies, rocking them to sleep while parents are fighting off the enemy. Daria Valaschenka, a soldier and medic with the Ukraine's Territorial Defense Force. Big ups to you, sister. Toeing the line, holding down the fort. Alana Brushniska, a makeup artist and teacher who is now a member of the Territorial Defense Force. I bet she can blow their face off and then put it back together again for viewing. That is macabre, but that's how I think of these women that are now army warriors in the face of this enemy that is threatening to take over their country. Big ups to these women. No matter what your political leanings are, and no matter if you are completely discouraged by the actions of the United States government, you have to give props where props are due. You just can't roll in somebody's country and basically tell them this mine and call dibs on some shit that's not yours, even though that's exactly what we did here in the United States. But now, 2,000 years later, we can't allow this to continue to happen in concrete and a society as established and as ancestral as Ukraine.
Ми з Україною.
That is, we stand with Ukraine. Now for their national anthem. I play this just to give a special homage to the Ukrainian people. You battle against so many great odds. I don't know if I could ever be so brave. I want to have the same bravery as your president and his tenacity showed while he addressed the Congress yesterday. I didn't know how I was going to react, but I was profoundly touched by what he showed to us. In fact, he showed a great amount of just coolness and clarity in what his ask was. Several great points. They are in World War III. They are fighting for their very existence, their right to exist, in the face of massive opposition from the Russian military, who are indiscriminately shelling children in women's hospital. People are losing their whole family just because of the greed and the bullying nature and the sociopathy of another leader. This also will provoke me to donate. If you navigate to google.org, Ukraine Relief /Ukraine Relief, you can donate to the UN Refugee Agency, UNICEF, and the World Food Program. I also suggested in previous post to also donate to the World Kitchen as well as to the Red Cross. But if you actually donate to these organizations through the Google's website, not only will they match, Google.org will match your donation, but it goes directly to these programs. I think the Ukrainian people are in a fight for their existence. I wish that we would transport the air support that they need, because if they do, I have a feeling if they were to get those MiG jets, they would whip up on the Russians. And that's what they need. They need to basically expel them from their country. I don't like to align myself too much with Republicans because I think they're all racist shysters. But when Lindsey Graham basically said that we were approving the purchase and transmission of the Switchblade attack drones to Ukraine, he was like, which are anti-tank drones. He said, yeah, that sounds like anything called a Switchblade seems to be needed to go to Ukraine. And for once, and I'm just basically saying this for once, I'm in complete agreement. They need all the Switchblades. They need all the anti-tanks. They need all the surface-to-air missiles. They need all of the stuff that we developed to repel the attack and the atrocities that are going on now in Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine. Will you join me? Don't forget to hit subscribe or leave comments at the end of this video. Thank you for listening. That's the evolution of Star Trek, the Discovery theme. And this is the part of the podcast that I just absolutely adore also, like all the other parts. But this is because one of the main things that I stream is Star Trek Discovery, as well as Picard. I'm not going to basically, in this section, I'm probably not going to tell too much on Picard because I'm not sure how much I enjoy it, but I hope you enjoy this riff and the copyright-free music from Viodance.
Commander Reno, personal log. Hour 8 of being kidnapped feels like hour 10,000. I'm officially bored out of my skull. Haven't yet figured out how to transmit a message off the ship, but at least I can record this for posterity. Plus, it helps pass the time. I'm trying to eavesdrop, pick up as many details of their plan as I can. For the most part, they're saying nada, just pacing around, waiting for Discovery to make a move so they can ride her into the hyperfield. I'll tell you what I'm really dreading. I need to ask Book for more black licorice. Red is the only kind, in my not-so-humble opinion. Anything else is a crime against candy. But black's got glyceric acid, and that's what I need, so here he comes. Signing off. Wish me luck.
The world can just seem so crazy in general, and the whole Ukraine war and Korea piping up that they start shooting missiles and, and then you wait for other countries like Iran. Everybody starts tripping all around the same time. So when you can just relax and disengage by watching great shows like Star Trek, my world is okay. as I says, I'm kind of reclusive, so I don't want exposure to a whole bunch of people. I don't feel comfortable in crowds, and trying to explain how the pandemic has allowed me to become and be reclusive and give everybody the side eye is always kind of hysterical to me, because you would think I would be more outgoing, but what is the point? You know what I say? I'm not going outside. There's really no reason for me to go outside. I'm not outdoorsy at all. There's a misconception that just because I like being in an RV and driving around that I really want to be around y'all. I really don't. But I can sit back in my chair and look out my window and talk about people all day long, because that's fun. But this finale, the Star Trek Discovery finale, was probably one of the best ones in the season. And I always feel that it's so disappointing and sad when such a great, not just the genre, but some things is just so just well written. I love the cinematography. I love the action. I love the CGI. And I love it so much. And I'm going to probably watch this episode for the third time today. Even in so fact that after I complete recording and splicing together my episode, that now that I know how to use Logic Pro, I'll be able to split up this episode or this particular part of the production in half, get the high value commercial in between, but just as a way to riff on why I like this episode so much. Picard episode, it was all right. But it just seems like past week's episode, Star Trek Discovery, was absolutely very, very well written and very well shot. And I want people that, whenever they read my stuff, because I think I call myself an amateur screenwriter and author, that they would be able to say some of the same things as I'm going to follow up and say about Star Trek Discovery. First, the whole storyline about how Book, and I hope you enjoyed that Star Trek log entry by, what is her name? She cracks me up. And she basically represent like most everybody in this Star Trek franchise. It seems everybody in Star Trek was able to, they were all on out. It seems like they, just like every other Star Trek franchise, it seems like this one was more determined to be all inclusive, and everybody is bi-curious and came out on this episode. Tarka. But this episode is interesting because
Commander Reno.
I don't want to basically put that up. Navarro plays a commander on Star Trek, and she is trapped by by Tarka and Book. And they're trying to Tarka is trying to get back, use the DMA's power source to get back to his love interest, who is not there. It is obvious that the DMA and 10C is as an advance and intelligence. They have this amazing, a huge power source, but it's not going to, the end result of them trying to destroy it, he is not going to get him the end result that he wants. And he has to realize that. What I thought was interesting is the 10C didn't even see humans or any other life forms except for their own as sentient or advance, and they were just going about gathering up their boron to use this shield to protect their own young, not knowing that they were destroying whole worlds and leaving behind voids and waste. Book came to that determination after he almost lost his life. Tarka did die, I'm assuming. I think I did see in the news that Star Trek Discovery has been renewed for a 5th season. I'm not sure about that, but this season was absolutely well written. The plot twists were great. And as I said, the video quality was amazing. And initially I thought they were trying too hard to be all inclusive, but what do you expect from a Star Trek franchise that's dedicated to inclusion? And I think they did an amazing job coming full circle, recognizing empathy. And, Book he basically was out for revenge, but even he realized that this is not the way. I can't destroy, but I can't destroy just based on trying to get back at them for destroying Quazon, but I can do all I can to make sure that you don't do this to anybody else. And that's how he had to let go his grief and start to heal. And in his process of healing, he was assigned to help with refugees and other displaced people from the DMA. I'm just looking forward to how little the Discovery knew or knows about the whole universe. That's the other thing. Oh my God, why I'm gonna have to watch this again, or just at least watch the end, because the president of the United Earth is no other than Stacey M.F. Abrams. I fell out and I almost died. I was so happy, and it made me so happy. And when you think about inclusion and you think about things that just really, if you really want to make me happy, end a show where there's another black woman who is the most gangster black woman on earth, and she is the president of United Earth. What tripped me out is Earth leaves the Federation with the burn, which is where all of the dilithium goes inert, and Earth pulls out of the Federation. What trips me out is they are left by themselves and they fend themselves for a minute. The general is cool as hell, but her motive to try to help Book and Tarka destroy the DMA was good, because she was just protecting Earth, but at the same time it was absolutely misled. And she actually absolutely helped them get Tarka and neutralize Tarka. Book gets a second chance and he gets to make it right. And Stacey Abrams, on a sneak tip, basically says the general, she lost her damn mind, but that ain't us. But we cool now, and you gonna live up to or do whatever you can to make this transition back to the Federation cool. So this new Federation 2.0, I can't wait to see in the next season of Star Trek Discovery. That's how good it was. I'm also looking forward to what is that? Agent 31 or Office 31, which is the Philippa Gregory character. She's supposed to be leading that. She's Asian American, and she's supposed to be leading that particular part of the franchise. I'm hoping that it's more exciting than the Picard franchise, because I don't know. Even with Q and his nonsense and his messing around with humans, because he's player hating us because of our mortality, even though he says that he hates us, I think he just can't help himself. Again, white privilege, I don't get it. Therefore, because I'm very much annoyed that my play boyfriend got killed in this week's episode. And I want to see how they wrap that all up, because they're not in the right. The future has been polluted. The prep has been polluted because Q messed up the past. So, but the action was okay. It was just kind of disjointed. And it's just taken me a minute to really get back into Picard. And I really didn't get into it so much, and I haven't watched it again. Like, I've watched Discovery like twice, almost 3 times now. And I've watched that ending 3 times, definitely. But I think I'm going to watch it over again for the 3rd complete time. And I'm definitely going to have to watch Picard again, because I didn't really get this week's episode all that much. But you can't watch either one of those if you're trying to work like during the day like I was. And I want you guys to navigate to the podcast notes and not just leave me a review, but also just your comments, because I'm actually going to add questions to my Anchor account when I post this. What are your thoughts about Stacey Abrams being the president of the United Earth, and how is that going to affect future episodes now that Earth is back in this new Federation 2.0. I want you guys to reach out to me either through in the podcast, the comments, or just reach out to me at TNFroIsReading@gmail.com and leave me what your concerns are for the progression of the franchise and how you think that's going to affect future episodes. Episode of Tennessee Fro is Fussing. It is a great day, although I had to get off of work early. I've taken this opportunity to enjoy sundown by the pool. I have a podcast that I want to make more than a passion project. So I'm doing everything that I can to increase viewership and listenership of the podcast. I'm making an effort to post across most platforms. I think I got most of the podcasting platforms on lock. This is an opportunity for me to increase viewership through very simple viewership or subscribers through YouTube. And it's a great way to share a cocktail with whoever wants to hear anything I'm about to fuss about. One of the things that I've learned from researching what makes a successful podcast is really to drill down on those episodes or those shows that got the most views. I think I'm doing good when I get over 35 people saying, girl, go for it. And in a way, it does make me feel good. Also, on my blog, the shows that get the most views or clicks and likes also have something to do when I'm being my crud munching self. And the side-eye sidebars. So I decided I'm going to make an effort every single day, or every other day, depending on how I feel and what influences me, to post short reels on YouTube. The sound will eventually be spliced together and made part of the podcast itself. And this is something I've been following for a while. I don't know how much you guys have been following this, but it seems that the Texas government or governor is having a war on other. Republican, conservative, he's trying to make it child abuse or criminalizing when transgendered youth get gender affirming surgery or therapy. So he basically tasked the state's attorney to go after any parents or any individuals and the doctors that are providing this care. Unfortunately, you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that. And I'm saying this from like two formats. I'm actually I signed up for my 7th or 6th newspaper because Greg Abbott and the Republicans of Texas will not allow me to let this go. I have one of the many medical licenses that I have, one of my first medical license was my first medical license since I did my residency in Texas, and this goes back to me, I guess, being a thought leader, was my Texas license. It was the most expensive license at the time. They've since decreased the amount, but I paid like almost $2,000 because I had to fly to Austin to get interviewed by the board. And this was at a time where I was actually living in North Carolina at the time. It started with me flying back and forth to Texas as a locums or contract provider to provide care. I worked at the hospital, Children's Hospital, where I got my residency, and then in North Texas, and in several places across that particular state. It was rewarding. What I do remember of working there, it was also a rough place to be if you were marginalized, and it was downright dangerous for you to be a kid in Texas because it was hard to get the burden of proof to prosecute those cases. Some of the worst child abuse cases I've ever had to deal with were in Texas, unfortunately. Right up there with military in North Carolina, but go figure. As a part of your Texas medical license, you have to actually take and pass what is called jurisprudence. One of the foundations of Texas is it is illegal for corporations or non-medical entities to practice medicine in the state of Texas. The treatment of transgendered youth for gender dysphoria is standard of practice. And if you criminalize that, aren't you breaking your own laws, is my question. And I'm wondering if the ACLU and if these other parents that are suing the government of Texas, are any of them making this point? Also, a judge in Austin has also made it, they have an injunction basically, and the state AG is appealing the injunction that basically have caused or put a halt on these child abuse investigations for transgender youth seeking gender affirming therapy. Because it's just stupid. This is what I don't understand. You're breaking your own laws because y'all blocking standard of care therapy, and you're trying to equate it with child abuse, but the child abuse is y'all coming and attacking these children and withholding necessary therapy. It's bullying and it's disgusting. And y'all need to be ashamed of yourself. But they need to take a look at it from a jurisprudence standpoint, because I don't think the intent of these laws, what is the absolutely intent of the law? And then you got the state's attorney, that he's having some issues. Evidently, he has been indicted or some suspicion around tax fraud and some other information. But he himself, he doesn't follow the law. There's some securities fraud, some other things that, and in Texas, I guess unless he is prosecuted, he still gets to keep his job. But why we have somebody with just a semblance of not really following the law, and it's looking a little crazy, and he still has this shady mug, still actually is allowed to practice and practice on the highest level. He's the state's attorney for Texas, but he's enforcing these untoward laws, and then he says he's filed an appeal to basically reverse the judge. He wants to overturn him, but I don't think he got that kind of pull. So while all of this is going on, these children are still allowed to seek the much needed therapy. I don't care what your opinion is, but gender dysphoria is a diagnosis. The treatment is gender affirming therapy and surgeries and medical therapy and counseling. You can't withhold any of that, because ethically you can't withhold that type of therapy. Basically, what your religious standpoints or your ethics are really has no place to determine these children and their parents allowing these children to basically seek the necessary therapy for their own mental health, and in a lot of instances their own health just in general. Not only is the state of Texas in violation, I believe, of jurisprudence, which does not allow a government entity or a corporation per se to basically either practice medicine or definitely tell people to withhold therapy, withhold treatment. You can't really do that. It's a complete violation, ethically, as well as should not be allowed legally. And that's all I got to say about that. So that's a good place to end this thought provokes. I hope this makes you think. I hope this makes you look up what jurisprudence actually is. And I wonder, you can form your own opinion, but just get all of the information. This is my opinion. This is TNFro Is Fussing, producing and recording from my back porch. Y'all have a great evening and enjoy the day. It's pretty out here. It's supposed to be a whopping 66 degrees.
What's up, Doc?
It cracks me up that people like Bugsy Evans, and then I woke up to the beat tape. This intro trap god is, I know these guys just sit around all day and just make up beats, which is something that I know that they love. And I'm glad I got that riff about What's Up Doc, because number one, it's copyright free, so it shouldn't get flagged on YouTube. But it's a great way to introduce this segment of Side Eye Sidebar, because what am I fussing about today? I'm literally fussing about COVID and COVID shenanigans. I just want to take a couple of minutes out of your day to update you on the ongoing pandemic. And contrary to popular belief, there's still a pandemic going on. We still got people wilding out like there is not one, but it is deep. The numbers are going down. Everything is opening back up. They basically called off the pandemic last year in Tennessee. So I don't know how they doing where you are. But that's good news. We got still people, not as many as the thousands we had in the hospitals at the beginning of 2020 with the Delta surge and then Omicron. We're still less than 60% of our population that is fully vaccinated and boosted, because that's what you are going to need to be able to ward this scourge off. And I have a feeling they're going to be calling for another booster, just like with the flu. Every single year, we're going to have to get flu and we're going to have to get coronavirus. I mean, it's a reality. Fat butts like me don't want to get sick. So I'm going to continue to protect myself. And let's talk about protection. We have between 120, 150 million doses of all of the vaccines given worldwide. Yes, there are some bad side effects, but we know it works because the people like myself and like President Obama who have tested positive are getting mild symptoms. So with that said, we've also had the time to get proven, data-driven therapies that now you don't even have to come to the hospital for. I didn't know this, if you within 5 days of being tested or onset of symptoms and you get the new pill, I think it's through Merck or Pfizer, it'll keep you from also getting sick. But I also would believe that people that are not getting sick are also those that probably at least got one dose. And also if you get a couple of doses and boosted, I think you're going to be all right too. And I'm also I'm hopeful that somebody basically sent President Obama those pills, and he and Michelle Obama, First Lady Obama, are doing okay, and they got the appropriate treatment now because he's tested positive. I hope he's on quarantine. I hope he got his pills, and we're all good. What is very much concerning to me is over in China. Well, while we're talking about over in China, it does not appear that they have a good handle on the Omicron. They have their own vaccines, and I have no doubt that the vaccines probably work. But just like over here, if you're not vaccinated, you're not protected. I did not know that less than 30% of the elderly population in Hong Kong were protected. Shenzhen, which sounds like a Romulan dark side city, is now on lockdown. And only in China and places like the totalitarian government similar to it can put a whole city that big, 17 million people, on lockdown. I don't know if they don't have a homeless problem, but they must have found somewhere for all those people to go, because nobody's on the streets. And they got enough testing products, because all testing is done over there. Everybody has to be tested 3 times. They had this outbreak, Omicron. It took a pause. Now it seems like it's taken a pause in the rest of the world, but in places in a relatively close society like China, it's tripping me out that they still didn't have this as under control as what we would have expected. I think they had some things in place. They opened up a little bit to international travel, and then boom, it went crazy again. Now, for also those of you that watch 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Ella and her boyfriend Johnny, that they've been dating for like over a year, he's in China. He didn't want to travel all this past season. He's been putting her off. But I think a lot of that was actually taped last year during the Delta surge, and I don't think that Omicron hit the Chinese mainland as it is now, because he basically said in this past week's episode he didn't feel comfortable traveling until like February of 2022. She had already bought her ticket to Dubai. He said he can't go and then have to be on quarantine, blah, 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 blah. But now Omicron has reached China, so he's not safe in his own country. He should have booked it. And they should have met in Dubai, or they should have met in Turkey, and they could have connected. But he waited and waited and waited, and now the Omicron surge is absolutely affecting his country. I think I'm going to have to go online or Twitter to figure out exactly where he is because of what I've been reading in the news about all of the shutdown and the rolling Omicron surge that's going on. But again, if you're not vaccinated, you're not boosted, how are you going? What's the protection? I don't know if they have access to the same antibodies that we do, or the other treatments like remdesivir as well as the pill. But I'm hopeful that those people, that they do. If you have enough scratch to be able to threaten, to protect, to support Russia in their nonsense, then you should. I'm hopeful that you at least stockpile some of these founded treatments, and so your people won't have to suffer. But I believe probably it's like some weird system, first to the ruling party, and then it's going to trickle down to the other billions of people, or regular people in society, which makes me very much sad. And that goes to what's going on in Ukraine right now. There is another, I was supposed to talk about COVID, but it came to bear because I started talking about China and then it bring up Ukraine. I'm going to be revisiting Ukraine probably in tomorrow's episode because President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is supposed to be remotely by Zoom call of no less addressing Congress tomorrow at the behest of Chuck Schumer, the Senate majority leader, as well as Nancy Pelosi. And I think, and I'm hopeful that Marjorie Taylor Greene and that other foolish lady from Arizona shuts the hell up. And we have no hecklers, and we have no one that is going to be disrespectful to that brave soul, because what he's going to be talking about and asking the West, in particular us, for more help, I'm hopeful that they just act right and they act like they got some home training, even though they always don't. They act like they've lost their damn minds when it has to come to the Democrats. So I don't know. But I'm looking forward to his addressing. I probably, if it comes on much after 8 o'clock, I probably won't be awake to enjoy what he is going to say. But I'm sure I could get a recap on YouTube tomorrow, which I'll share with the listening audience. Now on for shenanigans. Now, there is a YouTube clip that I think I saved to TNFro Is Eating, my playlist on YouTube, about Ron DeSantis going off that the government will not pay and stop shipment of providing monoclonal antibodies. And I can only listen to him or any of the Republicans for just a few minutes because they talk in circles. He starts out going, I'm like, what are you exactly talking about? He says, we got people here. The studies show that it should work. And we have some people that have received this life-changing and life-saving therapy, monoclonal antibodies. And I'm like, and then Jen, the Psaki, she's a White House press secretary. She's like, you know what? I'm so tired of you. I'm so tired. And I'm tired. She's like, boy, bye. She basically had that look on her face. And she read him perfectly, because you can't have it both ways. The studies show that monoclonal Regeneron antibodies, which I know probably pays you a really good clip because they got these lobbyists and they made $1 billion last year. Their shit doesn't work against Omicron. That is what the studies have shown. The studies have shown that it does not work against Omicron. Well, how do you know it has Omicron? And then you basically say, well, in the last several million people that have tested positive, it is almost 99.9% likely that it's still fucking Omicron. You may get a Delta in there every now and again, but for Pete's sake, for the most part, who is getting sick is they have the Omicron variant. So, and you have to walk that back. He says, the study showed that it does work. No, it doesn't. Fact check, bro. It does not work against Omicron. How do you know it's Omicron? Well, the studies also show that it's 99.9%. It's probably Omicron. There may be 1 or 2 Deltas, but yeah, it's not going to work. And why are we going to pay for therapy that doesn't work? That also leads me to this emergency ivermectin medicine bill that has floated its way to the General Assembly here in Tennessee. Ivermectin is a parasitic drug. We use it in humans for specific parasites. We use it more as a dewormer in horses, etc. We got people on making a run for the farm, which they'll try an unproven medicine because them fools, Joe Rogan and them, told you may want to go ahead and try it. Why are you going to try something that is proven that it doesn't work when we got things that do work? Take the fucking vaccine. 150 million people, including myself, that are fully vaccinated and boosted. We all can't be wrong. Why are you going to try some unproven toxic shit that we know don't work? Zithromax does not work. Okay? Not consistently. We got remdesivir, we got the pill, and we got the vaccine. The Regeneron multi-billion-dollar monoclonal antibody does not work against the most common variant that's out there, which is Omicron. And it's a toss-up if you're going to continue to use something that really does not fucking work. Regular immunoglobulins does not work if it's not specific to the spike proteins of coronavirus. So no, you can't get IVIG. And sure as hell, you don't need a horse dewormer. Let me just put all of those out there. The studies do show that those therapies do not work. And that is what the bottom line is. You're wasting time, and it's a waste of money and precious resources to continue to support therapies that don't work. So we got people like DeSantis and his foolish surgeon general that are promoting these things. It's because you're more likely, because you know that the Regenerons of the world and some of these makers of these unproven medications, they're lining your pack coffers, because that's what it is. It's big business to continue for politicians. It's big business to continue the pandemic, and you can continue to spread these dangerous lies and contrary therapies that are contrary to proven medical data just because y'all are getting rich from this. Because that's avarice is the only thing I can think of where you're going to play with people live. And history, you're going to be judged against these things. Just because you can't say this stupid shit, doesn't mean you should say it. And Ron DeSantis and his dumbass attorney general can go and sit down somewhere. He reminds me of Ben Carson. And I'm more annoyed with the Surgeon General of Florida, because he's still an associate professor at the University of Florida, Gainesville. How could you be on a major, want to be a real powerhouse if you got dumbasses speaking for you? I just can't. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the studies showed this, and you fact check, and studies don't show any of that. So what works against the pandemic or what works against coronavirus is, number one, wash your hands, wearing a mask, staying your butt at home if you don't have to be around people. The other thing is that truly what does work is being fully vaccinated and boosted. Remdesivir still works, reformulated, as well as the new pill, all active against the most common variant, which now is Omicron. So those other unproven therapies are just that, unproven, and that they're dangerous. And that's all I got to say about that. Until next time, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to hit subscribe during, after, and leaving comments and sharing with your friends, because that's what's going to help me out so I can continue to share my knowledge. So that's how we're going to end this episode. And I'm going to end it with a positive word. I used to scoff at people making this statement because of its simplicity, or maybe because it sounded more like an admonishment that I was being everything but kind. But then when I started investigating it for myself, that's when I realized that I was confusing politeness with kindness. Politeness is a fake, superficial manner in which there's no required investment, no self-reflection. But being kind is an adjective. It is an action. If you're kind to yourself first, it's like exercise memory. You will continue and be kind to others. Let that sit with you for a while. I'm going to try to be kind to myself. I'll be kind to others. It's very simple, and you got to repeat it. Lean into the spirit of a new year by counting your blessings, giving to others, and spreading happiness. I know I will. And this episode, or this podcast, is my means to spread joy and happiness and light and enlightenment. There's so much going on with aggression and just meanness. But if I can leave you with one small positive thought, start your day with that can change everything for you and just basically change your day. Don't forget to check out Dale's Angels Inc. for the notes on this podcast, as well as other works by CQM and other contributors that are in work or in being edited right now. Also, check out my Instagram feed, TNFro Is Reading. You can check me out on Facebook, TNFro Is Reading Book Club, as well as my YouTube channel, TNFro Is Reading and Eating. And what I'm just chatting and streaming at TV Food Wine Girl on Twitter. Navigate to Writer's Block Coffee or shipabagadicks.com. Use my promo code TNFro Coffee or TNFro Got Jokes, respectively, to get a percentage off of your order. Don't forget to drop me a line at TNFroIsReading@gmail.com. All non-trolling messages may be actually read online, and you can do the same if you are in Podbean or Anchor or wherever you listen to the podcast. And again, shedding light and positivity. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Until next time, bye.